All right, that completes that audience question. And Mary, you'll be next up for the next audience question. Jeff?
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Oh, have you got a mic? Okay.
Yeah, I got a mic. Thanks, Al.
Yep.
I don't know if I can work it, but I have a mic. Here we go. Good evening. Currently, there's a California law in the Motor Vehicle Code 22500. This forbids obstruction of sidewalks by cars, trash cans, bicycle hoops, whatever, or excuse me, basketball hoops, whatever. The city has recently begun a 90-day public relations campaign to inform residents that it is illegal to block the sidewalk. After 90 days of education, the city is going to reevaluate the program to determine its next step. My question is simply this: if after 90 days people are still obstructing sidewalks with cars or whatever, what would you do?
Okay, Jeff. Thanks. Mary?
Yeah, I was present when this conversation was going on recently at a city council meeting, and I think I stepped up to the open mic and actually said I was very happy to hear the presentation because an education around clearing the sidewalks for pedestrians, and I live on 8th Street, which is a safe route to school. I walk my dogs up and down, and I almost get hit every day by one car or another that goes very fast, particularly up that street, or taxi, et cetera. So I'm in huge favor of this proposal to have this discussion. What my hope would be is that if we can create awareness about the risks, we could go a long way. That would be my hope. What I know and understand, and I've talked to residents who are also very, very concerned about the lack of parking and how they have, they're living in Hermosa Beach in such a way where they really rely on these sort of awkward parking arrangements that sometimes involve either going over a red line, which is actually technically not allowed as well, or parking over a sidewalk. So I think it starts with the campaign. When the campaign is over and there's an assessment about the outcome of that campaign, we see what we're observing. I think we go back to the table. I don't know what I would do at that point, but I think it's important enough to pursue the conversation to clear the walkways.
Thanks, Mary. Haney?
Thanks. And Jeff, that's a great question. It's something, as you know, we've been dealing with, and Access Hermosa have been dealing with for a while. I live right off of 8th Street, so I see that pedestrians are always walking through 8th Street in the middle of the street, including strollers and people like you, Jeff, in wheelchairs, which is obviously not very safe. So I understand the issue. I am really glad that the city is going through this educational program. I think Georgia gave us a presentation during not the last council meeting, a council meeting before, which was great. I included the literature that she provided to us in my email that went out to our community, so I'm hoping to help with the educational process. And in the last community first meeting that I had, I actually had our Commissioner Al Benson here help me actually put it on the video and have the people in the meeting actually watch Georgia again give that presentation, because I think it's important to know the issues and how to address them. That said, we have not just Hermosa Beach, all beach cities have significant parking issues in area closer to the coast. So it's not easy for us to tell our residents in 90 days that you're done parking on the sidewalk, and any car that's going to be on the sidewalk next week is going to get the ticket. That's just not practical. What I'm hoping we do after the 90 days is we can bring our code enforcement folks back, see how the educational process went, and look at staff providing recommendations and suggestions of how to address this issue. And hopefully we'll have solutions that we can incorporate gradually that address the safety concerns and also incorporate the concerns that our residents would have about not being able to simply not park on their sidewalks because there's just not enough public spaces available.
Thanks, Haney. Trent?
Yes, I think we need to focus on the hot spots regarding the parking on the sidewalks, and one of them is definitely 8th Street. And the people, there's only a few parts of 8th Street that are really bad, and the people that park on the sidewalk have been doing it for, 20 years. They know they're not supposed to park there, but the reason they park there is because they get away with it and they can do it. And an education plan is just really notification that, hey, we're going to start doing something about this, and so something needs to change. And that's why I'm a proponent of redoing 8th Street completely so that it is a safe route to school, and it's got new sidewalks that you can't park on. And if you do, you will get a ticket. All right? And once you get a few tickets, you'll figure a way out. Now, I know that's kind of tough love, but seriously, on some of these places where people are parking and blocking it and people are almost getting hit, our children have to walk out in the street, and people that are in your situation can't get up and down, especially on the streets like 8th Street and a few others, we need to address the problem. And the citizens that live there need to come to the table too. They need to buck up and own a solution as well.
Trent, okay, thanks, Trent. Pete?
Thank you. This is not just an 8th Street problem, this is a citywide problem. I believe there's something in the vehicle code that says you can't block the sidewalks. I remember years ago, I championed an ordinance that said you cannot block the sidewalks, and the reason I did was I heard a story about a young boy who was going down, I believe, 3rd or 4th Street, had to veer out into the street because there was a car blocking the sidewalk and the driveway approach, and as he veered out into the street, if you want a good lesson on why we need to enforce this, that child was killed by a trash truck. The car blocking the sidewalk and the access was his father's car. This is a true story. So I championed an ordinance for that. Somewhere, I'm really surprised that we keep going round and round with this. Somewhere we have an ordinance that was written probably 8 to 10 years ago to prevent this, and I believe the vehicle code also says that. But it's, you can ask my younger son, he got a ticket. And his older brother said, how come I got a ticket? I was just parked over the sidewalk. He goes, call Dad. So he called me and I said, well, I wrote the ordinance. He goes, never mind. So I think we need more education. This came up about 3 or 4 years ago over on Longfellow, same problem. But we need to enforce it, and hopefully it'll go away. But we do have an ordinance, and it is a very dangerous
You can summarize,
situation
Pete.
for anyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Pete. Stacy?
Thank you. First and foremost, this plan was to focus only out of the gate on the safe routes to school, and I thought that was a wise place to start. We heard in the general plan process that if you give people a chance to comply, they'll likely do it on their own. So we're exploring that with this process, and I'm very hopeful that we live in a community where the majority of us would comply with those notices and not obstruct our sidewalks. Violations, as it stands right now, will only be administered in a form of citation on a complaint-by-complaint basis, which is how our code reads right now. But if after that 90-day period, we see that this is still a large problem that persists in our community, my thought is our police department, headed up by Georgia Moe in this particular scenario, should go to Access Hermosa and think about what we should do for phase 2 and present that to council before we move forward with anything more strict. Thank you.
Thanks, Stacy. Matt?
Thank you, Al. First, I was going to get and say, compliment you, Jeff. I appreciate everything that you've done to bring awareness to this. I know myself, I probably wouldn't have thought about it until you've begun your activism, so I'm glad you brought this to everyone's attention. I was at the city council meeting with Georgia Moe, and Captain McKinnon had talked about this problem as far as what they're going to be doing for the 90 days. I'd rather wait until that 90 days to address what we're going to do after that. I believe our community cares about each other. I think we're going to have a great compliance on this. But as far as what I would do after that 90 days, I want to see what happens first before I go ahead and make a commitment on that.